Regardless your tradition, there are 4 levels of consciousness. 2 of the consciousness levels are considered low consciousness. They are linked to the earth and the water element. They're considered low consciousness simply because they are feminine polarity, a triangle pointing down, and abundant in this natural world. That's it. So no one would want to chop down these trees or not go visit that ocean. But that is all that means. Whereas a higher consciousness is considered the fire element and the air element. It comes from a masculine polarity, and it's not so visible, right? We don't want to see fires all over the place, and you know air is abundant, but you can't see it. That's the only distinction. But for some reason, we judge a low consciousness nature, and we don't want to embrace that, and so we're always talking about high consciousness and high consciousness. So there are 4 levels of consciousness, and we're going to talk a bit about the thresholds moving into each, and then being more holistically collective in the way we view situations ourselves from a point of consciousness. The goal is to have all 4 developed, all 4 evolving, so that you can move into your lower consciousness, utilize your highest consciousness when appropriate. Consciousness cannot, a person's consciousness and how they come into their incarnation cannot be seen by the astrology chart. It is the only thing that cannot be seen in astrology. So if someone tells you your consciousness level in a reading, run. It's a lie. They're stroking you. Ain't true. Because every single one of us has every planet and every sign. That means we have all 4 levels of consciousness for every planet and every sign. You might have different quantities, but that doesn't mean that you're higher in consciousness or lower in consciousness than other people. Your consciousness is determined by your choices. And so there are times, one of my favorite sayings is, you don't show up to a war with a butter knife or a sword fight with a butter knife, so you're going to get slaughtered. So that's an appropriate time to take out your wolf and kill someone, right? Metaphorically. That warrior is necessary. And there are times where take out your butter knife because that's all it requires. And so the wisdom of consciousness is about knowing what to say, when not to say it, how to use your tools, how to use your consciousness, how to use the chart I'm sharing with you is animal consciousness, the animal representatives of consciousness, and there's many charts on many consciousness models. This is just the one that I use to explain the tools and the techniques and the version of power or consciousness that you're going to choose for an appropriate situation. And that's the work of a lifetime. So you may be naturally inclined to a behavior because in your past life, in your karmic node, that skill has been developed. But it's not any worse or better. And so just like we look at a chart and we're not piecemeal, you are not your sun sign and you are not your earth and you're not your moon, you're all of it. You are all of the consciousness levels that exist within each of those houses and those signs, those placements, and those planets that are archetypes. And so that requires some speaking to, because it's one of the most misunderstood things about how we show up in the world as high consciousness, spiritual. And spiritual is internal, because it's why am I making this choice? And as you said, thought, right, is determining that whether it's conscious or unconscious. So no one can tell you your level of consciousness. It is your choice. Your current circumstances are results of your previous actions and the level of consciousness in which you choose to behave. So when you show up and then you say to the astrologer, this happened to me, and you come with that attitude that something has happened to you, there's a lack of taking personal responsibility that you created that. The beautiful thing about astrology, and my astrology teacher used to say this, what you bought at the store for in the morning is what you're going to eat for dinner. If you buy chicken, you're not eating steak. If it's here in your life, you created that earlier. The beauty of the planetary cycles tells you when, so that the astrologer can say, what happened around this time in this area of your life that you started planting that seed that now has fully blossomed into the problem that you're seeing. Or the result could be positive, right? And everything is positive and negative depending on the viewpoint that you and the lens that you bring to it. So that's the beauty of the planetary cycles. They're not making you do something. But if we look back, we can see why today we have the issue at hand. The other beautiful thing about astrology and the cycles, because it's all a cyclical science and art, is that it's going to come around again and again and again for you to choose a newer, better, different level of consciousness if you don't really like the way you showed up the previous 15 times that it showed up. The new cycle is an opportunity to choose with a higher consciousness, different. This begins to change the consciousness level of the pattern.